Hey, and welcome to another edition of the Gridiron Fantasy Football Podcast. My name's Huck Breeze, and I am joined here once again by Mr. Undefeated, Darth Scott. Darth, how are you doing?
It's a great time to be a sports fan. I'll tell you that. It's been a great week, buddy. It's been great. But
Yeah.
like I said last week, it's not how you start, it's how you finish. That's the only thing people remember. You're still sitting pretty at 2-1. It's not, there's still a lot of football left to play, but I will say being 3-0 feels fan fucking tastic.
Yeah, I don't know if 2-1 is sitting pretty. It's about momentum, right? So, like, if you
It
lost
is.
this game and I won this game, I would feel like this next week, I would feel like I'm in a better position than you are. So, yeah, I'm like it's weird that you go from 2-0, you win your first 2 weeks. The moment that loss kicked in, I was like, what do I do?
You
I got to
called it. You
blow this
were you
shit
were
up.
right. You were right. You're like Max hasn't hit 2 weeks in a row. He's gonna hit this week, and it's gonna be against me and his team. Everybody on his team hit. It was you were 100% right from the
Yeah.
podcast last week, basically.
Yeah. Like I said, we do these projections before the season starts about these players and these teams. And if the first two, we projected somebody to be high or be decent or be acceptable at the very least, and the first 2 weeks they come out shitty, it's like, uh-oh, I don't want to be facing them. Yeah, they've been shitty in the past. I don't want to be facing them. And
But when
it
you
kind
know
of,
they have talent, they have a base level of talent that you're like at some point they're gonna get back to at least close to what they should be playing like.
yeah,
And sometimes, especially early in the season, offenses take a little bit of time to get the rhythm going and things like that. So it's always a little wonky, and so it's like I feel like the first few weeks is kind of weathering the storm, and hopefully you can get some wins and survive until you really kind of see what offenses are going to look like that year.
yeah, yeah, no, I know what you mean.
I shined my
Um,
helmet for this, so
I did. I saw you took a wet wipe. I was just about to say that. I was like,
mhm.
wow, this is looking pretty shiny.
Right? Yeah,
Hopefully,
not
it
bad.
doesn't collect dust over the
It
next
does
few
collect a
weeks.
lot of dust, a lot of dog hair in this house. So,
No, I mean, like, if you don't, yeah, I assume you're putting that on for wins.
hmm?
I assume you're putting that on after every win. Or are you just going to
Well,
start every
it's not
podcast?
necessarily every win. I didn't know it was gonna be 3-0. I might still bring it in. I think it's good for morale, for team morale.
True. Okay. Well, I guess when or if or when that time comes, we'll see if you keep it up. Um, this is the first week where both of us didn't win. Obviously, I went 2-1, faced Max's team, which was due for an increase in points. You are 3-0. Um, first thing I want to
My
talk today.
points my points against though is absolutely laughable though. It's absolutely ridiculous.
It is. It is right now. It's not.
And so
Uh,
I was thinking about what you said. I was like, oh, one of these weeks because no one's hit against me, somebody's got to hit. Like, and I was looking at Michael this week. I was like, oh no, it's gonna be him.
yeah. Well, I mean, so I was looking at you and Cameron and John, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you got the past two winners, and obviously you're up there this year, chasing first, but you're in second. You're undefeated. What do you guys all have in common? Obviously, Lamar Jackson, is the number one overall pick. He's the best pick in the draft. Yeah, but you and Cameron both had pretty limited points against. So the points against were real low. So I'm like, is that a recipe for success?
It's a
Having Lamar
strategy. Oh yeah,
Jackson
yeah.
not and having the least points against obviously is a recipe for being up there in the standings. But if you extrapolate across on what I was saying with like trends, you got Chase in first, you in second, Danny in third, um, Cameron in fourth, and Brad in fifth. Those top five people all had lottery picks, or if not lottery picks, then lottery draft capital. So in the case of Cameron, he traded away his first round pick and went and got someone else. So just a little trend that we see early on in the season. You've got the only other I believe,
Then you and
lottery
Rumham
pick.
right there at 6 and 7, who both had a lot of later round picks and stuff like that. Like you said, the draft capital
Yeah.
later, not from a lottery pick, but still a lot of kind of later round picks.
Yeah, trading away some of those picks. And then, you've got the only other lottery pick that is not included in that range is in last place right now. So there are anomalies. It doesn't work out for everybody. But one thing I wanted to talk about earlier, and this is, something that I've experienced personally this week, is the free agent waiver wire just dry as hell this year compared to other years? And do you think that has any correlation with people just, and maybe just because we haven't hit buys, but I feel like moves are lower. Like people, obviously, me, you, and Chase have used a good amount of moves, but I feel like a lot of people are in the 5 through 8 range, which is lower than they have been in the past.
I think there's been a lot of just a lot of offenses are kind of operating through the people we expected them to go through. There haven't been too many surprises other than maybe some rookies, but they were literally drafted in our draft, so like they weren't free agents. Yeah, so far I think a lot of things now, not everybody has performed to expectations, but they are still, it's not like somebody else is stealing the show from them. Like for instance, like AJ Brown, maybe the first 2 weeks hadn't been doing much, but it's not like Devontae Smith or some unknown third string wide receiver was getting all the attention. They were just tush pushing every other play, and that's it. Just anal intrusion for the win all day. But so I think that's a big part of it. I think we will see a lot more movement come bye week, which first ones start next week. I think big ones are really 8 and 9. There are a lot of teams on bye right then, so we'll probably see some more movement. But also, I feel like there's been a lot of status quo, a lot of hey, I got 2 wins. Everybody that was 2-0 just kind of sat back and was just kind of try to sit there and hope that they'll just keep coasting to another win, basically. And honestly, some of the people that were 0-2 or now 0-3 didn't really start making moves until this past week. So I tend to like to jump in on that early. I feel like even after a win, I'm watching the tape and being like, hey, no, this guy didn't cut it. This guy didn't cut it. I don't give a fuck that I got a win. I care that I wasn't firing on all cylinders. And I feel like some people don't really have that mentality. They're kind of like, oh, I got away with the win, even though this, 8 of these guys sucked ass last week. I'll just keep rolling with them. Personally, I'm more of the, hey, you suck, you go kind of thing. And that, not everybody's on board with that. Some people want to wait 4 weeks and give people chances and second chances and third chances and 4 chances and be in fucking last, basically. And that's personally not how I want to play right now.
Yeah. Do you think it has anything to do with that? And I didn't really notice it last year. I didn't even see it last year. But last year, we adopted this 6 bench spot, roster size. And this year, it just seems like people may be playing a little bit different, stashing people for a longer amount of time, or trying to predict whether or not, maybe insurance on certain people or whatever. So when you're going out to look for a receiver or a running back or whatever, they're already owned, even though somebody may or may not have known, right, that they were going to be in that spot. Do you think that has to do anything? Would you be a proponent of saying, hey, the waiver wire just isn't what it used to be, maybe go down to 5, or do you think we're right where we need to be at 6?
I think we're right where we need to be at 6. I think early on there haven't been, like, we just started seeing more people rostering their backup QB to their lottery pick and things like that, because we saw a lot of people having to negotiate with terrorists, which is never anything you want to have to do, essentially, or just not starting a quarterback at all. So I think that'll even out a little bit, because like from the draft and going into week 1, I think there was only like 1 or 2 people that had their lottery pick back up, and everybody else was just stashing extra players and, oh, this guy's got a good blurb, fuck it, stash him in case he's good, kind of thing. And there's also been a lot more I feel like eyes on, oh, you're suspended, but I know you have a lot of talent. Let me see if I can, get through a few weeks and stash you, and then hopefully you come back later. There's been, I feel like, more of that this year as well. So I think we're good at 6. It makes the waiver wires a little dry out there. But I think we're still early in the season too. I think week 4 and 5, what you're going to see, at least what I see, is more consistency, which is really what you're looking for in the long run. You don't want that flash in the pan one good game. You want consistency over 4 or 5 weeks, and we still just have a small sample size. So I do think there are some diamonds in the rough out there. We still don't know, because what I've been looking at lately too, and don't tell anybody, but some guys missed week 1 and with an injury or something, and then they came on real strong after that. So their season total is low. But if you look at week 2 and 3, and they didn't play week 1, and you take that out, they're actually fucking killing it. So, there's different ways to look at stats, and I think that's really the big thing, is learning how to read the stats as opposed to just looking at season totals and shit like that.
I think also, especially when you're looking at defense, I've had to fill in some defensive spots. Last week we had an absolute ridiculous defensive week that inflated a lot of different points for some people who may or may not be able to do that or sustain that over the full season, right?
Yeah.
So when you're looking at points, you're like, oh, okay, these guys all have a high point, but I don't want him. I don't want him. I don't want him. This was a lucky thing. This was a lucky thing. And you're kind of settling. And it makes everybody that's in a range that's like normal look, I think, a little bit less sexy. So, if that person that was returning, or if Isaiah Rodgers was, I mean, you picked him up anyway, but if he was a middle linebacker, outside linebacker, he would have been snatched probably the next morning. But the difference is that he's a corner, and people think of corners returning touchdowns as an anomaly, which it is. It's not something that happens every week, but
no, it's not something that happens every week. But I think it's really about a combination of a excellent amount of pressure on the quarterback, so DBs know that they can sit on routes, because they know the quarterback has to get rid of the ball really fast. And one other thing that I liked about Isaiah Rodgers in particular is that he had a good peanut punch that game. The peanut punch, that's a skill. That's not I happen to be in the right spot at the right time. That's a skill. So I feel like that can be built upon. And I always look for, and I always want to have one corner that is that possible blow up guy for a pick 6. Basically, for me it was Deron Bland a couple years ago. I had picked him up, and everybody thought the same thing. I think he had 1 or 2 in the first 3 weeks, and everybody was like, he can't do that the whole season, and he ended up with 8 or something absurd. All because Micah Parsons was in the guy. If you go back and look at every single time, I'm sure Micah Parsons is right in the quarterback's face, and he's just like, oh fuck it, and Deron Bland's just waiting for it, because now without Micah Parsons, Deron Bland is useless. He's absolutely useless. You and I could be better at coverage out in the field of Deron Bland right now. He's just fucking useless. And so it's not really about the corner. It's about the scheme. It's about the pressure on the quarterback more than anything. I've been eyeing Green Bay DBs, but so far they're about as useful as Deron Bland is on the Cowboys right now. But hopefully, I think one will eventually develop, but that's kind of my idea there. 2 safe DBs, one lottery kind of guy that might blow up at any moment, kind of thing.
Yeah, I've gotten away from that. I've pretty much had the same defensive strategy for a while now, which is have a high floor. This year, I've started to adopt more of the sacks, the picks, the playmakers, rather than that. But I remember in 2010 for my first championship, that won me a championship. I mean, pick 6, having that corner and being able to, as Rogers Cromartie, Rogers Cromartie, and being able to take that risk and do that. But since then, I've been like, hey, can you give me 5 tackles in a game? Can you give me, somebody that is going to give me a strong floor? I guess it's just a strategy you take. But yeah, for now, it's an interesting view of the first 4 weeks of our season. Let's move on to the next subject, and something that's probably close to your world, very close to your world. Let's talk about the Giants.
Oh.
You got an extra asset this week in Jackson Dart, which is interesting. for you. You also decided to trade for Scatabo to
But he kept
kind of
reminding me that my RB2 situation was so dire, so I needed to fix it.
right. And in that whole process, you dropped the wide receiver, Wan'Dale Robinson. So you've had a lot of Giants transactions this week.
I almost went with the Giants tripod there. I was very close.
I have a few questions.
Shoot.
What are your plans for Jackson Dart? Why, when Jackson Dart becomes a fantasy asset, do you drop Wan'Dale Robinson? And where do you see Scatabo ending up as far as like RB1, RB2, or just somebody to fill in for now?
Plans for Jackson Dart. Cover my quarterbacks buys, which are coming up in 7 and 8. After that, he, pending on play, if he earns a starting job, he will be a starter, and I'll trade Sam Darnold. If not, I will trade Jackson Dart after that, probably, to beef up anything else I really feel is necessary. If not, if I don't feel like anything's necessary, then I will just keep him for what's called insurance going into the playoffs. Knock on wood. Scatabo, I expect to keep a high RB2 status. The way he runs is just, he likes to inflict pain, and he's kind of built like the Tasmanian devil, like no neck, just all like shoulders and head and just ready to ram you kind of thing, which is very good for his running style. Which, I mean, to me, like last week when they were playing the Chiefs and they let Russell Wilson throw the ball into the stands 3 times in a row while they're in the red zone, if they would have ran it with Scatabo, they probably would have scored a fucking touchdown. But, that's my main fear for having both of them, is just that Daboll and the Giants coaching staff have to be some of the most inept, head up their own ass, dumbass fucking people I've ever seen on earth, to let Saquon go and shoot and try and sign Daniel Jones over him, and then just let Daniel Jones go after that. Like, I feel like this season they're going to trade Malik Neighbors for a bag of potato chips. That's their level of intellect. That's how much fucking trust I have in those jackass pieces of shit. But if they can get both these guys on the field, that would be very helpful for everybody in the building to not lose their job, which they fucking should. And I mean, I feel like I said, I think Jackson Dart will help a lot of things. As far as dropping Wan'Dale Robinson, I still expect him to do well. I just, last game, he watching him, he kind of pissed me off. A lot of that has to do with Russell Wilson, though, too. I still think he has value. I still think he has value. I think who'd I drop him for? I can't remember. Or did I just drop him?
Sorry,
I dropped him for Kenneth Gainwell. At the time, I wasn't sure if I was going to make a trade for a second running back, so I picked up Kenneth Gainwell as my RB2 just in case, because I needed another running back. So that was kind of it was out of necessity, really. I didn't necessarily want to, because I do expect him to play well still.
He's receiver 18. And just like wide receiver 18 overall, which is mid wide receiver 2, and just got a new quarterback that you own, which was, to me, like surprising to say.
This was before Jackson was declared the starter, and before my trade, so I still needed an RB2 at the time.
Okay.
Yeah. But I agree. I think he might have a good week this week, or at least keep progressing upward with Jackson Dart playing. And one thing I want to say is everybody keeps saying, "Oh, this is terrible. They're starting them against the Chargers. The Chargers are so good. Oh my God, the defense is gonna eat up Jackson Dart." If you really think about it, though, NFL defenses are tough. Guess what? They're fucking tough. Every defense is tough. B, if you can't handle the pressure now, you're not going to handle the pressure later. So either you're a little bitch now, or you're a little bitch forever, or you're not. That's how it works. And if you really think about it, If he goes and plays the Chargers, if he plays bad, everybody says, "Oh well, it was the Chargers defense. Harbaugh is good against rookie quarterbacks. We're kind of expecting that. So no foul play if he plays bad against them. But if he plays well, all of a sudden you're the fucking narrative for, oh my God, the new Messiah at the Giants and shit. So there's literally no downside and all upside essentially. That's the way I see it. And then if however he plays,
from a fantasy perspective or from the Giants' perspective?
From the Giants' perspective, even as fantasy value, trade value kind of perspective, because then also he's seen his toughest defense from the start. The defense is when he sees New Orleans the next week, it's going to look like a college team, So it's like it's not necessarily that bad. Everybody's I should have waited for New Orleans. Should have waited for New Orleans. You know what? NFL defenses are tough. If he can't handle the Chargers defense now and fucking get over it and move on no matter how he plays, he's never going to be the guy anyways. So I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing the way everybody's talking about it.
Here's my take on what happened this week. So I'm going to be 100% honest, and this is going to be probably a podcast where people are going to get upset, including you, on what I say or my opinions. But I looked at your team. Right, going into the week, do a quick review of your team, of people's teams, like where are we at? And I looked at your team and I was like, damn, this is maybe one of the best teams that Shag's ever had. This is probably the team to beat right now in the league. You had, good wide receivers, and this was pre-Dart, right? And I was like, the only blaring weakness of this team is his running back too. So if you were to take Dart at that point and say, hey, I'm going to go get a running back two with Dart, like try to find somebody to trade for running back two with Dart, I feel like your starting lineup would have been pretty darn, I don't want to say unstoppable, but pretty darn formidable and something to work on or something to work with. I mean, you still have Rashee Rice coming back, Aaron Jones coming back. If you fix maybe some of your defense with Jackson Dart and a running back, I think that would be a great thing. And I was worried that you were going to go to Cause, who has 3 running backs, and get like an Alvin Kamara or something along those lines.
I looked at that. Alvin Kamara and the whole New Orleans offense, he's so old and fucking what's his name? Rattler. Have you watched him play? He is such garbage. He has not won a single game in his entire life. And they're just like, you know what, Rattler, we really want a good draft pick next year. So get your ass out there. And it's just like, I don't know how much I can trust that because it's not even like good garbage time shit. It's just shit sometimes.
Well, I mean, it's not, I know, but it's not like the Saints have a ton of options. But anyway, I mean, there were other running backs as well that you could have traded for from Coz's team. That's what I was really worried. Is like Coz going to say, hey, I lost Wilson, don't want to start Cam Ward. I'll go and take a chance on Dart. How much it's going to cost? I got 3 running backs. And then you guys do that. And then I'm like, okay, now we're talking about the Lamar Jackson team who's won the last 2 championships with some, fantastic receivers, Barkley and Aaron Jones eventually. Like, it's a really good team. But let me backtrack a little bit and give you another compliment.
You really don't like the Adunze for Scatabo trade, apparently.
I think Adunze was the best trade of the year for anyone in our league. No, yeah. No. The Adunze, the original one that you got from John, 2 defenders for Adunze. I thought that was the best trade. So at the time, it wasn't like when you judge trades, right? You look at these trades where it's like, man, that was just really good fantasy. You didn't rip the person off. It was just a situational play where he needed defense, and you went in and got, Rome Odunze, who had one good week, and then it's like, can he expand upon that? I thought that was a really, really good trade at the time, and it turns out that it was probably the best trade of the season for any of us. So then you go on and you trade for another piece of this Giants offense. So you were just talking about the Saints. When you're looking at Jackson Dart, the ceiling is going to be Bo Nix from last year because this is almost identical from what happened with Bo Nix last year, even with the same quarterback, right? He's taking over for Russell Wilson.
Oh, that's funny. 2 years ago, I guess now.
No, that was last year. Bo Nix.
Russ was a Steeler last year.
Oh, I'm sorry. 2 years ago, he wasn't taking over. He was taking over for another quarterback.
I think it was Russ. No,
Last year? No, Bo Nix took over for somebody last year. I
did
forget.
he?
Anyway,
Okay. Oh, that's right. Okay.
yeah. It was a star, and I forget who it is. But anyway, um, so Bo Nix came and was a first round pick the next year. That's what you're looking for in Jackson Dart, right? Something along those lines. Because the Broncos offense was nothing like we weren't. Cortland Sutton at the time was not like a top receiver. Like, at least the Giants have him like neighbors. So there's a ceiling there. The bottom could be that you were just talking about Radler and the New Orleans offense. Could be that he's the New Orleans offense. That this offense as a total or as a whole is New Orleans, and that you're peddling or you're holding on to a quarterback 3, somebody
So
that's
you
only
think I
good
should
for bye
move
weeks.
Dart now before he ever plays a snap while he still
No,
has some hype
I'm
on
just
him?
saying that ceiling and the floor. You're not.
Yeah.
The ceiling and the floor is what you're looking for. So you're thinking that maybe if you're thinking that he could be a Bo Nix type person, and this is an offense that could do
It'd
that.
be nice, but it's not necessary. My success doesn't hinge on it. Like I could easily trade him away for another wide receiver or defensive piece after my quarterback's buys, and I'd be perfectly happy with that.
But I'm not talking about this your success depending on it. I'm just saying, as far as value is concerned, and trading away Roma Dunza, like in the spot that you did, you are saying I value Jackson Dart at this point more than I value Roma Dunze.
I
So
definitely value Roma Dunze. I think he's going to have a fantastic season, and I would even trade to get him back at some point. The main reason I traded him away because I was deciding between him and Amika. Actually,
why are you deciding between two of the hottest receivers in the league?
Because it's not that big a deal to me. I have Cortland Sutton, I have Amika Zabuka, I have Rashee Rice coming back in a few weeks. It's not that big a deal to me. The reason I chose Adunze over him was actually his playoff schedule. He doesn't have a great playoff schedule for weeks 14, 15, and 16. That's kind of what I'm looking at right now. And I was also waiting to make sure I beat Brad on Monday night, which wasn't not a guarantee. I needed Lamar Jackson to play well, and he did. To make sure that I have that luxury of being like, hey, I only have 3 more weeks of until Rashee Rice gets back, and then I'll start Amika, Cortland Sutton, and Rashee Rice, and I'll be very happy, just as happy as I was with Adunze in there. I'm sure it'd be great to have Adunze on the side as well in case somebody gets injured, but it's not 100% necessary. And like I said, at that point, I'll have Rashee Rice back. I'll be through my buys for Jackson, so I can trade Jackson Dart if I want. Aaron Jones will be back, so I can trade a running back if I really need. So I'll have a lot more options at that point. So
I'd be shocked if when Jackson Dart, and maybe it's just for the buys, I can't do that math now, but I'd be shocked if you get Roma Dunze value out of Jackson Dart when that time comes. Or even Sam Darnold.
It depends because it's really I would rather keep him for insurance than sell him low as well. Yeah. Like if I don't have a glaring weakness, then I'll just hold on to him, because in playoffs, if my quarterback goes down, I don't want to be fucked like that.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's get into free agent frenzy. Give me one offensive guy and one defensive guy that you have that maybe should be owned, even though it's tough. We just talked about it being a desert right now.
Yeah. So I have no idea how to say his name, but Eric Ayomaner.
Yeah.
Eric on the Tennessee Titans.
Ayomaner. Yes.
Ayomaner.
The wide receiver too for the Titans.
Ayomaner. Yeah. Mm-hmm. He's actually been killing it lately. Last two out of the last 3 weeks, he's gotten over 10 points and scored 2 touchdowns at that time. He's always looked at for targets. So I think he could do a lot worse. I think there's a lot of people out there that are starting names that should be benched right now, because like Marvin Harrison Jr., hey, he's fantastic last year, but this year he has done literally jack shit. So I'm not saying necessarily bench him for this guy, but you should pick this guy up and maybe give it 1 more week and then be like, all right, I need to start winning fantasy football games instead of just starting a bunch of fucking names.
Yeah, I don't know. Our league is tough with 14-team league with 3 wide receivers and whatever. It's tough to say Marvin Harrison Jr. There's a lot of teams that say, "Hey, don't trust Brian Thomas Jr. Don't trust these guys right now. Leave them on your bench until they can show you." Like, we don't have the time, nor do we have the roster to like be like, yeah, I'll put in Eric Ayomaner for Brian Thomas Jr. We just can't do that.
I don't know. I just think repeating do the same thing over and over just because this guy has a name but hasn't scored a touchdown all season or gotten more than 3 targets a game, I think you're just going to end up in last place doing that.
Perhaps.
My other guy on defense is actually Jamel Dean. He's had 2 great weeks out of the 3 so far, 10.5 and 18.5. The other one he had 3, but for corners, that's still two really good weeks. And that last week he jumped a pass to take it home for a touchdown. So I like him so far. I think he's a very savvy player, and if anything, he'll get you a decent amount of tackles. For DB, you could do a lot worse because there's a lot of people out there starting DBs getting goose eggs or close to.
Yep.
Who are you looking at this week?
I'm looking at a few people. I spent a lot of time on the waiver wire this week looking at stuff, so I've really, I think, got it down by now. I'm going to go with Devin Singletary. So I know you just got Scatabo, and it's nothing against Scatabo, but I just don't know if they're going to give him this might be a 60-40 thing with Scatabo getting a lot of reps, but taking off maybe 1 out of every 3 drives, and Singletary has been known to be a decent fantasy running back. And in addition, it looks like he at times has returned kicks. He's not listed on the depth chart as the top guy, but he is getting some work returning kicks. And really, honestly, we saw it with the dude for the Michael just picked him up for the Rams.
Cam Hayward. Oh,
Blake Corum. Corum and other of these running backs who are getting a little bit of work as backups and returning as well, that they can sustain running back 2 as long as they're returning. And I think Singletary can do that as well, as long as you he's 1% owned right now, so it's like nobody else sees that. But if you can get a touchdown once every 3 weeks, a few receptions, maybe get 5 carries a week and return 100 yards a week, that's running back 2. That's starting running back 2. So somebody I've looked at that's almost free. On defense, I wanted to point out a defensive back. So this guy, Marquez Siegel, for the 49ers. So they got rid of Hufanga in the offseason, and they drafted this guy with the 5th overall pick. I'm sorry, in the 5th round, 22nd overall pick. He's played almost every snap as their strong safety. So if you think about it, in the past, 49ers safeties have been super valuable. I mean, almost forever. And so this is a position that's usually pretty lucrative. I know he hasn't done anything that's absolutely crazy, but he's got 6 tackles, 5 tackles, 7 tackles in 3 games. As a rookie, it's only a matter of time till he starts showing up and starts, making plays, especially with all the defenders around him. They've played 2 of their first 3 games have been against teams that just don't give up points to safeties. So we'll see how he does against Jacksonville this week. But I think this is a guy that definitely should be a starting DB somewhere. I considered picking him up as my starting D. I had a D spot that I needed to fill, but I just don't. I have buys at D and DL next week, so I decided to go a different direction. But definitely
I can't
somebody
tell
I'm
if you're
looking
serious. 3.5 points, 4.5 points. He started off with 7.5, but what's to pick up here? I don't get it. I'm not seeing the value. I'm just saying that. I don't
really. What I usually go off of is how many plays are they on the field on defense.
But if they're on the field for defense, a lot of plays and only made like 1 or 2 plays, to me that says you're useless. Get your ass in the stands.
In the first 3 weeks,
get the fuck off my team.
Yeah, it's situational. No, I mean it's situational. I mean, me and you have different theories on defense.
Pick them up then. Pick them up. Start them. You'll probably get your whole 3 points this week.
I just told you why I didn't. No, I'm telling you that
I don't think
I'm not an opportunist when it comes to defense. Okay, I guess we'll have to see. If Marquez Siegel does something going forward, then I guess we'll see.
All right. Okay. Yeah. Prove me wrong, right. Marquez.
Let's get on some of these matchups. So we're going to start with unicycle.
Wait. Are you ready?
Are you ready for
week 4?
Yeah. I am ready, actually. I'm ready to get in these matchups. How about you start out with unicycle polar bears versus Rumham?
This one's a tough one. There's a lot of kind of ways I'm going back and forth between them. Rumham's got Geno Smith versus Chicago, which is a great matchup. But then he's got Jake Browning at Denver, which I don't like. Unicycle Polar Bears has Caleb Williams at Las Vegas, which is a great matchup. And then he's got Michael Penix versus Washington, which wouldn't necessarily be a bad matchup. But if you saw the Falcons' offense last week, it was really, really awful. So I think it's kind of a wash there, be even there, unless Caleb Williams maybe blows up. He's one I would kind of watch for. But, Geno Smith versus Caleb there, that's kind of ideal. They're playing against each other. But then going into Rumham's wide receivers, George Pickens versus Green Bay, T. Higgins at Denver, and Brian Thomas Jr. at San Francisco. Those are some of the worst matchups I've seen all season for wide receivers right there. Plus, he's got Jake Browning and T. Higgins both at Denver. I don't like it. I don't like that matchup. They should have beaten the Chargers last week and gave Justin Herbert as much as a lot of hassles that day. I expect Jake Browning to have a very long day. Versus Unicycle Polar Bears, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Malik Neighbors, and Keon Coleman. I like all three of those better. Yes, it's against Cleveland, Chargers, and New Orleans. I still like them better. I think they have higher ceilings. And then Keon Coleman versus New Orleans could go off as well. Rumham's got Breece Hall and Woody Marks. You're starting Woody Marks? Is that really? He's not. He'll end up starting David Montgomery if there's nothing else. He's not going to start Woody Marks. I mean, I'm not going to dare him to start Woody Marks, but he's not going to start Woody Marks. I mean, but even if he starts David Montgomery versus Cleveland, that's not great. That's not good. And then he has Bashal Tutin as well, but they're at San Francisco and he's questionable anyways. So the matchups just keep getting worse for Rumham. It's not good. Whereas Unicycle Polar Bears has Kyron Williams versus Indy, and Kenneth Walker at Arizona. Still tough matchups, but I still like them better. Kyle Pitts. So he's got the hookup from Michael Penix to Kyle Pitts, which that's not great, but it's still winning.
Washington at home.
Yeah, they do. Their offense needs to look a lot better, though. They made the Texans' offense look good last week, basically. Geno Smith to Brock Bowers is a nice little stack and jack. Like I said, I expect this to be close. I'm just leaning a lot towards Unicycle Polar Bears. If Rumham is going to win, it's going to be his defense. He does have a sick defense. Derwin James, TJ Watt, Julian Love, Fred Warner, a lot of great guys there. Unicycle Polar Bears has pretty decent defense as well. Buda Baker, Jeremy Chin, Landman, Roseboom. I like a lot of those. Will Anderson Jr., Sexy Dexy. So I expect his defense to show up enough for Unicycle Polar Bears to win this game.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy that we talk about Trevor's team and we're like, oh, yeah, it's this defense going to carry. I mean, last week, that's kind of what was proven. It's one of the best defensive weeks that the Gridiron's ever really seen. I mean, most guys in double digits and just crazy amount of points. That's probably not going to happen every week. You can have a nice floor, but you're not going to get double digits out of everybody every single week. I know you're saying that even if he plays David Montgomery against Cleveland, it's bad. Like, yeah, there's still a strong floor for David Montgomery. He's still going to get 10 to 20 carries and get 50-something yards. And so I don't mind David Montgomery in the spot. I didn't understand the trade for Ladd for Brian Thomas Jr. unless you just because even in the draft, like Brian Thomas Jr. was one round ahead of Ladd McConkey. They both started off slow, but Brian Thomas Jr.'s looked bad. Trevor Lawrence looked bad.
Yeah, Trevor Lawrence to me is really what's brought down the stock for me and Brian Thomas Jr. Trevor Lawrence, he plays like an asshole, man. He's throwing them in. He really does. He doesn't take care of his wide receivers. He's like, oh yeah, do a slant into those two linebackers. I'll hit you right before they take your head off, and then be like, why didn't you catch it? Like, I don't know. Go back to Easter Island, man. I'm sick of Trevor Lawrence. I'm surprised he made that much fucking money. Just Jacksonville's a bunch of fucking clowns. But I would stay away from the whole fucking parade circus down there myself. But
Well, so I mean, he decided he wanted him. I mean, Brian Thomas Jr. was the top 10, top 6, top 7 receiver to enter the year. So
there's
this is
fool's
definitely
gold
a buy
every year.
low. This is definitely a buy low. But Justin Herbert's throwing the ball
Way
pretty
better than Trevor Lawrence.
successfully, and it just happens to not go to Ladd these first few games. So eventually, you'd think that if they can continue this pace and the Chargers are playing well, which they are, that Ladd will eventually get his. Talking about the Geno to Brock, that's a good situation, even though I think Brock Bowers doesn't look 100%. We haven't seen the Brock Bowers that we saw last year thus far. I know he's pretty high up in tight end ranks, but tight ends are just not very good thus far this year. So, I don't see Brock Bowers right now as a huge weapon. I wouldn't put him as a wide receiver 2 like he was last year. I'd probably put him as a wide receiver 3 or even borderline 4 at this point. Breece Hall against Miami, that's a good hammer. But yeah, the rest of his team, bad matchups. Like, it's going to get to a point with Trevor's team where it's like, I always say defense wins championships, where if they don't perform, if they underperform, like Trevor's team might not be playing well. And I never like to count him out because this looks like a team that Trevor usually has, and he's done pretty well the past few years. But it's just really hard to go into these the conversations that we have on a weekly basis and say, I love it. It looks great. Jake Browning against Denver, Monday night. He's definitely going to win. Like, I can't do that.
I'm going to bet on him and that I will not have to buy Huck a $100 bottle of tequila. I don't know about that.
yeah, exactly. It's like it's just really tough to do. It would be a really ugly pick. I mean, you could do it, but it's just an ugly pick. And on the other side, Caleb Williams, this was the guy where I was like, man, this could go one of two ways before the season started. He could be one of the best QBs in the league and a QB1 that we draft next year in the first round. Or he could be somebody where it's like, man, he just is not ever going to get it together like Trevor Lawrence, right? He's right in that Trevor Lawrence range. And he's been playing really, really well from a fantasy standpoint and making really good looks, I think, in just a, NFL type.
I think he's on an upward trajectory in both NFL and fantasy standards, yeah.
Definitely a QB1. And so, yeah, if with him as a QB1, Amon-Ra as a QB1, Malik Neighbors, if he's healthy, playing with Dart as a new quarterback. I mean, even though they're playing the Chargers, like, you still love that matchup. We'll see Kenneth Walker tonight. I know Charbonnet's back, but he should still get work. I don't like Cameron's offense, like, if he's playing like most people. But like you said, Trevor's team's just really hard to lock in. Like, if Brian Thomas Jr. comes out this week and is like, surprise, I'm a wide receiver 1 again, and Pickens is like, Lamb's out, so, like, I'm a wide receiver 1 now as well, then, yeah, I really like that. But putting George Pickens at 16.76 projection points.
That's absurd.
Is a lot. It's a lot. Against the Green
16
Bay
points last week, but that was against Chicago. That's very different.
Against the Green Bay defense with Micah Parsons coming home and these corners, they give up the fifth fewest points to wide receivers. That's crazy talk. So I think the projections would even out just a little bit, even if he puts in Montgomery for Marks. But I'm going to pick Unicycle Polar Bears. You did as well, right?
Yep.
And just an update on where we're at. You are 11-10. I am in 9-12.
I'm 12-9.
You picked yourself last week?
Yeah. I'm 12-9. You're 9-12.
Gotcha. Okay, so we both are on Unicycle Polar Bears. I got to end up putting this on the website after. Okay, next matchup. Disco Lemonade against Eternal Touchdown. What do you think here?
This is one where I think Eternal Touchdown gets his first win of the season. He definitely needs Jane Daniels to play, but I expect him to play. But Kyler Murray tonight, Jane Daniels on Sunday. yes, Disco Limit has Bo Nix on Monday night as a hammer versus Cincinnati, which is a great matchup. And I expect Carson Wentz to play very well in Ireland versus Pittsburgh on Sunday morning as well. I expect that to be a bit of a wash or return a watch touchdown to come out on top there still. But Tetra McMillan, Devontae Smith, and Jordan Addison, whew, man, that's a lot of wide receiver twos there that could not have a great week any week, and I would not be surprised. But against Matthew Golden, Rome Odunze, and Live McConkey, I expect Matthew Golden to have a coming out party at Dallas. I expect Rome Odunze to do great against Las Vegas, and Live McConkey even against the Giants. I know you said he hasn't been getting much yet, but he is due. So I think return touchdown wins there easily. And then Disco eliminates running backs and Chase Brown, Tony Pollard. Oof, man, that sounds like somebody just took a fart, put in a bag, and said, "Here's your running backs." I think total touchdowns, Bucky Irving and Jordan Mason are going to wipe the floor with them. Total touchdowns winning in every position for me here, even on wide tight end with TJ Hawkinson versus Tyler Warren. Yeah, to me, this is going to be total touchdowns first win. I think he's going to win by a lot.
I mean, matchup of the week isn't this game, but I think really from my terms, like this is the matchup of the week. And the reason I say that is because, I talked to Neil this week, and this is an uncharacteristic start for him. Usually he starts off pretty well, and, he's one of those teams there in the upper part, even though he drafted from the back of the draft. And this year is just not the case. Obviously losing, the Vikings quarterback, McCarthy, losing Bosa.
It wouldn't make a big difference to me even if McCarthy was. I think he's better off with Carson Wentz playing than McCarthy, because Carson Wentz knows how to run the offense, whereas McCarthy was like deer in the headlights after plays.
If he's 1-3, do you? Because I thought about, I don't want to be somebody who's an ambulance chaser, but would you offer stuff up for CeeDee Lamb? Would you be selling CeeDee Lamb?
It's just personally, I have Rashee Rice coming back. Granted, wide receivers isn't a big concern for me. I mean, maybe.
All right,
but
from Neil's perspective, would you be selling CeeDee Lamb? I don't
think he would, just because I don't think Neil. That doesn't sound like Neil to me. And his wide receivers are not good enough to be like, yeah, this wide receiver on a team with a quarterback that will probably throw 4,000 plus yards. I don't need that guy. Like, maybe if he needs to go get a running back or something, he better get a good return for him, I think.
I mean, you just pick Clay over him. He's 0-3. So that's why I'm like, if you're in this spot, and I know Clay's team doesn't look that bad. I mean, he doesn't. I've liked some of the moves he's done, but
yeah,
Neil's team could obviously use the help, right?
Yeah, it definitely could use the help. It would have to be a good trade for him to trade away CeeDee Lamb, because I feel like he has more value keeping CeeDee Lamb than trading him away necessarily. He would have to get a good amount for him, and like I said, I think he has problems still at wide receiver, even if CeeDee Lamb was starting. I think he has problems at running back. Defense isn't particularly great either. There's multiple issues. Maybe trading him away for a good running back, but like I said, he needs some good return on the deal.
Just restructuring anything. I mean, because I'm looking at it right now, and I mean, he's lost all these people, and he's trying to heal it organically, and that's fine. But if you're 1-3 and you lose to the last place team, and now you are, he could be close to last place. That, after 4 weeks getting into buys, is probably time to make a decision. Like, okay, do I even survive long enough to have CeeDee Lamb make a difference for me? So something to look at right now on Clay's side. And I know Clay deserves all the shit that he's been given. I mean, you don't just finish last the past 2 years and then start the season 0-3 and it's like, oh, it's all luck. However, if he loses this week, I mean, I would need like some kind of straitjacket or something, because I would be going absolutely insane. Because it sets up well. All the matchups set up well for receivers. Tonight, Kyler, I know he's had some tough matchups, and Seattle's had kind of a cupcake schedule. So I know it says they give up 7th fewest points to QB, but I mean, come on, New Orleans, like stuff like that. Yeah, you're going to give up less points.
Yeah.
Jaden Daniels, as long as he's healthy, you've got a decent defense. I love the trades that he did this week. I think it's
I like
fantastic.
I almost want to go back. I want to Dunze back. I do. He's so good.
so I really like Clay's team. If he loses, I just don't know what to say about Clay's team. I don't know where he would go. I don't know how. I don't know
if he loses,
he'd
be like the Bengals of last year, like a really good team that probably won't make the playoffs, but you don't want to play because they could beat you, even though they've started off really bad. Because he's got a lot of talent on his team. He really does. If Kyler Murray and Jaden Daniels stay healthy, he should have one of the best teams, really. But it just has really started off bad for him, is all. But I still believe in him.
I'm picking Eternal Touchdown, but I picked
two
Neil.
People. We're both on the 0-3 team.
Yeah, but I picked Neil the last 2 weeks, and he's lost the last 2 weeks. So it's like if Neil wins, I just can't. I can't win. But let's go on to the next matchup here. Let's go Benjamin Harrison, Fupa Slayer. What do you got on this one? Did I lose you?
Yeah, sorry. Back? Some technical difficulties there.
No, you're good.
Benjamin Harrison versus Fupa. This is an interesting. I kind of went back and forth on this one. I could see both of them winning, but I think Benjamin Harrison's good play from last week will continue another week. I think that Tua to Tyreek versus the Jets will play well. I think CJ Stroud will have a decent week versus Tennessee, whereas Fupa Slayer's got Dak Prescott versus Green Bay, and Trevor Lawrence is at San Francisco. I hate both of those matchups for them. So that's not a great start for Fupa. Benjamin Harrison, Tyreek Hill, A.J. Brown, Ricky Pearsall. I like all three of those. Fupa's got DJ Moore, Keenan Allen, Deebo Samuel. All very, very good as well. I still expect Benjamin Harrison to kind of edge that out. If not, maybe Fupa wins there. Like I said, I've been back and forth on these. I love Benjamin Harrison's Bijan Robinson or Marion Hampton. Fupa's got Jahmyr Gibbs and Quinton Judkins, but they're playing against each other, Cleveland, Detroit. I don't like those matchups. I think the talent is very equal here. I just like a lot of Benjamin Harrison's matchups a little bit better. He's starting Hunter Henry, which had a great week last week versus Steelers. I think he'll continue that versus Carolina. Sam Laporta over there for Fupa Slayer. He's doubling down on Jahmyr Gibbs and Sam Laporta. I'm not a huge fan of that, especially against Cleveland. Really bad matchup there. I'm giving the edge to Benjamin Harrison this week against Fupa Slayer. Like I said, I went back and forth. I think either one could definitely win. I just like Benjamin Harrison's matchups a little bit better.
I don't think either of them can win. I think that.
You think they're both going to lose?
No, no. I think Max is, having the double hammer with Tua and Tyreek on Monday night. Omari and Hampton, I mean, the Najee going down for him, Max is probably like condolences, but it's probably the best thing that's happened to his fantasy team all year, with Omari and Bijan being those 1-2 punch. He's found a tight end that's actually doing something with Hunter Henry. Mark Andrews has never caught a touchdown against Kansas City, so that's a stat that maybe you look at when in starting Hunter Henry. Also, Carolina gives up 6 most points to tight end. CJ Stroud is bound to play better, hopefully, against Tennessee. So you've got that. I mean, his team looks pretty good. I mean, it's a team that probably shouldn't have been 0-2. Good defense. And on the other side, Dak without CeeDee Lamb against Green Bay, who has been super tough on defense, that's your number one player. And we just talked about Trevor Lawrence playing pretty bad. I think that Benjamin Harrison is probably the way to go. Just the matchups don't line up. Fupa in a different matchup might be somebody that I wouldn't want to face, but right now Benjamin Harrison has got this one.
So we're agreed on 3 of them now. We're both on Benjamin Harrison on this one.
I know. I'm sorry if this is so boring. Camacho Professor.
Camacho versus Professor here. Another great matchup. Professor's hurting a little bit after Russell Wilson got benched. Now he has to start Cam Ward, who really hasn't been great fantasy wise, but he is trending upward. So I think he has a good game. He's got Baker Mayfield, who's questionable, but I'm sure he'll play. He's preparing mentally versus Philly, who has actually been giving up a decent amount of points so far. Whereas Camacho has Jordan Love at Dallas, which should be a great matchup for him, and Justin Fields at Miami. He's questionable. Is Justin, you going to play, buddy? You going to play? Concussion practice fully Thursday? Okay, so he might play. It's tough. I give the edge to Camacho there a little bit, though, just because I want to see a little bit more from Cam Ward first, and Baker's questionable going into the game. I don't love that. And then wide receivers for Camacho, Zay Flowers, Garrett Wilson, and Chris Olave. I do like Zay Flowers, but he has weeks where he can be almost blanked. Garrett Wilson has been pretty consistent and a nice stack and jack. Chris Olave really, I guess he's kind of barely startable for me, honestly. And then, but then for Professor, he's got Jamar Chase, who's been not what you're expecting for how high you've drafted him. Devontae Adams, who's thankfully picking up that slack, and Jacoby Myers, who to me again is probably not startable. So while there are a lot of good names in these wide receiver groups, this is a very mediocre point scoring wide receiver group. So I don't think anybody's winning their game out of this unless somebody. I think Professor has the highest ceiling with Jamar Chase and Devontae Adams, but that's about it. Camacho, Devon Achane versus the Jets, and Jonathan Taylor versus the Rams. I know there's kind of tough matchups, but I like both of them over Josh Jacobs and Alvin Kamara. I expect this to be really close. I like Trey McBride for Camacho over Jake Ferguson's for Professor. There's a lot of things here. Even Brandon Aubrey over Joey Salai. There's a lot of things that kind of edging slightly Camacho's way. I think Professor's going to put up a great fight, but I'm going to take Camacho in this one.
You know what they're saying, right?
What are they saying?
This is the worst undefeated team the Gridiron's ever seen.
Oh wow! I hadn't heard that.
Yeah, I mean that's what the streets are saying, and yeah. I just think that when it's like, yeah, he's 3-0 and things are going pretty good. Jonathan Taylor's playing great, and Trey McBride obviously going against Seattle tonight in a good matchup. Like, you lost Joe Burrow and you replaced him with Justin Fields and Garrett Wilson. You adopted a stack and jack that isn't particularly attractive. You didn't make any significant improvements besides that. I'm not saying Justin or Jordan Love is not good. I'm not saying that Chris Olave is not a target monster, because he is. But this team just doesn't have, I think, the juice to replace that Joe Burrow long term. He had to go pay for the backup, and then he had to go pay for Justin Fields. He has the most moves. I just think that this is a bizarre happenstance earlier on in the season, right? Mm-hmm. On the other end, Professor Baker is taking mental reps. I don't know what that means. Do you know what that means? Mental reps? Is he just going through it in his head?
Personally, if every single team in the league saw that Jaden Daniels was able to do mental reps with virtual reality last year, and that's how he was was the rookie of the year. If every single fucking team didn't pick up and start doing that for their quarterbacks and other players, then they're not trying, and they're fucking idiots. That's as politely as I can put that. Because so when they talk about mental reps, you better be doing that. If you're not doing that, punch yourself in the dick, because you're not trying. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Well, I think he plays, and I think he does well. I like Professor's receivers better, clearly. Josh Jacobs against Dallas is a decent matchup indoors. Alvin Kamara catch up. Alvin Kamara is not the sexiest running back in the league as far as points are concerned, but I think he's definitely serviceable. I would think about J.K. Dobbins, especially for the Monday Night Hammer, but yeah, either one of those is a decent matchup. Jake Ferguson quietly having a fantastic season and faces Green Bay. I know we talked down Dak, but a little safety blanket underneath should be points. And I like his defense better as a whole. I like Coz's defense with Foy and Terrell Bernard showing up last week. So, yeah, I'm going to pick Coz on this one. This is the first one we differ.
Hey, all righty.
Yep. Next matchup, we are going with Breadbasket against Notorious. What do you got?
This is a good matchup here. Breadbasket's got some of the best quarterbacks in the league, in Patrick Mahomes and Justin Herbert versus Baltimore at the Giants. Both good matchups for them. Notorious has got Jalen Hurts at Tampa Bay and Joe Flacco at Detroit. I like the matchup for Jalen Hurts, not so much the matchup for Joe Flacco. So I think Breadbasket comes out on top just on pure talent there and attempts. And then his wide receivers and Puka Nacua, Marvin Harrison Jr. and Marvis Mims. Puka Nacua has been killing it. He really has. I expect him to keep doing well. They are playing against Indianapolis, who's been playing really well. Marvin Harrison really needs to show up tonight on Thursday night versus Seattle. He really hasn't had that great of a season. Marvin Mims is kind of barely startable there. Whereas Notorious has Drake London, Jackson Smith-Njigba, and Trey Tucker. Jackson Smith-Njigba has been playing great. He's fantastic. Drake London has really not been living up to his draft capital, and Trey Tucker is a new pickup. We'll see if he can continue playing well versus Chicago, which is a good matchup for him. So I'm going to give the edge a little bit to Breadbasket there, but Notorious could definitely win that battle. And then Breadbasket's got Chuba Hubbard and Nick Chubb versus Christian McCaffrey and James Cook. Oof.
Yeah, it's rough.
I originally had picked Brad, but I'm starting to convince myself towards Notorious. It's just I feel like Brad's quarterbacks are going to do enough for the rest of his team to just kind of play up to par and him win this game. But Notorious with Christian McCaffrey versus Jacksonville, James Cook versus New Orleans, those matchups for running backs are some of the best matchups for running backs we've seen pretty much all this entire time. This is tough. Tampa Bay, Detroit. How's Flacco been doing? What are your points lately, Flacco? That's bad. That's bad, Flacco. You should be benched for Shadir.
Shadir.
Yeah, remember him?
Yeah.
I'm going to stick with my original pick with Breadbasket, but I think Notorious could take this if Breadbasket doesn't perform well.
At the end tonight, you're going to be like, crap, because Jackson Smith-Njigba is going to just destroy Marvin Harrison as far as points.
Probably.
And that's a decent matchup right there. So, and yeah, I don't mind Brad's quarterbacks, but he's like my team. He's being pretty much carried by two quarterbacks and a wide receiver. Chuba Hubbard.
Those top three guys. Yeah, I was like,
Yeah,
they
top
all
three
better
guys.
score 20 plus points, and then Brad will be okay. But if not, if any of them don't do that, Notorious.
The rest of his team is just not very good. It's just not. Nick Chubb is bad. Nick Chubb is going to be the change of pace guy by the end of the season for them, and his defense isn't. I mean, I love his defensive ends. I think they're some of the best in the league. But besides that, he's got some borderline free agent guys. I mean, you got like Nick Cross and you like Logan Wilson, but yeah, they haven't pretty played up to snuff. I think all around, Notorious has fantastic offense and defense. So. James Cook, Christian McCaffrey, like you said, those are decent matchups. Jackson Smith-Njigba is one of the top 5 receivers in the league right now, and Jalen Hurts playing at Tampa Bay. You expect that to be a little bit high scoring. I'm going to take Notorious, so we differ on that one. And if you don't mind, I have to go get my son's clothes for his game together. Can you talk about our matchup or my matchup with? Last man standing while I go do that real
no worries
quick.
No worries. I know
we're
pushing up to the timer here, but I think this is gonna be a good matchup here. Drake May and Daniel Jones are playing out of their minds for you right now. It's absurd, like how well they're playing for you compared to where they were drafted and what they're expected to do this year. They're absolutely playing great. Drake May versus Carolina, Daniel Jones at the Rams. It's kind of tough matchup for the Daniel Jones, but I expect him to keep playing well. Whereas last man standing has Josh Allen versus New Orleans and Brock Purdy versus Jacksonville. If it wasn't for Josh Allen on the other side, I might give you the edge there, Sex Raptor, but I'm going to take last man standing there for the quarterback wise. Then you've got Nico Collin, Kavonte Turpin, and Malik Washington. Oh, man, if you told a non-fantasy football player that you were starting those wide receivers, after Nico Collins, they'd be like, who the fuck is that? And that's not a good thing. Whereas last man standing is starting Scary Terry, Jalen Waddle, and Khalil Shakir. He's got a couple cues over there. Let me read about those cues. Let me see what are we practicing. Limited at practice. Scary Terry, what do you got? Quadriceps reminds sideline. That's not good. It's not good. You know, who's on your bench there, last man standing? What do you got here? Darnell Mooney. Oh God, you better go make some moves, buddy. Rashad Bateman had one good game, I guess. Yeah, you better go make some moves because I'm expecting at least one of those guys not to play. But that being said, if they do play, it goes to last man standing easy for me. Running back wise, you've got Ashton Genty and Trey Benson. Man, you've been telling me about how I had running back 2 problems and I better fix this and all this stuff. I apologize because I feel like I should have been giving you equally, if not more shit than you were giving me about my running back situation, because now I've got some of the best running backs in the league. And I'm sorry, how long are you going to hold on to Ashton Genty hoping that he turns into something? Because right now he should have been thrown out with last week's trash. He looks terrible.
Oh, wow.
I'm just telling you the truth. I'm just telling you what you don't want to hear right now. Whereas, yes, Derrick Henry's had some fumble issues. I still expect him to play really well. Jalen Warren's even been playing way better than I expect. So I like Dalton Kincaid over Zach Ertz. I like Dicker the kicker over Tyler Loop. Your defenses, you have a good defense, but I expect his to still play really well. Bobby Wagner, Van Ginkel, Blankenship, Myles Garrett, Trey Hendrickson. I think you're going to put up a good matchup, but a good fight. But I think last man standing is going to take this. Josh Allen in New Orleans is your biggest problem.
It is a big problem, and I'll just keep this kind of short. Yeah, if I can get past Josh Allen to Khalil Shakir, then I will be pretty much, home free because, Terry McLaurin not playing is a big ups. Brock Purdy.
He better make moves. If Scary Terry or Jalen Walden, if either one of them don't play, he needs to make a move because on the bench he only has Darnell Mooney and Rashad Bateman, which are both droppable.
Well, Scary Terry's not going to play. So
they already decided?
Yeah, he's pretty. I would say Waddle's probably good, but Scary Terry's not going to play. You've got Jalen Warren who is going to play. Van Ginkel might not play. There's going to be some. He's going to need some help on offense and defense. He's got to make some moves, and I expect him to do that.
He's only used 2 moves.
Right. He'll end up doing that.
Scott, use a move.
He'll end up doing that. But I did a whole 360. I was tired of dealing with these wide receiver 3s. They make me sick. So a whole new direction for this wide receivers by just getting returners, people that return and are involved in the offensive game. That's all I ask. If you return full time, if you return both punts and kicks and are involved in the offense in any way, just sell them to me. I love them. I will pay for them. I want them as my receivers along with Nico Collins. I think that's a recipe for some points. So that's what I've done this week. 2 top 10 quarterbacks, Drake May and Daniel Jones. Yeah, you're right about Genty. But like I said, projected to be one of those top running backs, has had a rough 3 weeks. And if those projections are true, then we don't know because he's a rookie, but if the projections are true, that means he's going to have really productive weeks going forward. The Raiders just need to incorporate the short pass game and get him involved in the receiving game. So I like Trey Benson.
They just need to change their entire offensive philosophy, and he'll be playing really well.
He's just running into the wall. He's just running into the wall. And
offensive line is terrible.
Is not playing well. Yeah. I like my defense, and really, honestly, I know you guys are going to make fun of it, and you're going to, I'm going to get shit for it every week. But my team does not play well. My team is not going to be successful unless Travis Hunter plays better. It's just not.
How's that going for you so far?
I mean, it's not like terrible. He's not getting 2 points a game, but 7 points a game is not going to, be something that I'm like. That's not a first round pick. Okay, so
I'm just saying I had him in a different league, and I already dropped him.
Yes, because he's probably not IDP eligible.
No, it's in an IDP league. And he's just useless. He is just useless.
No, as an IDP, 21 points out of your DB is not bad. If he was just a DB.
If he did that in 1 week, maybe, but over 3 weeks, get out of here, Travis Hunter. Go home.
7 points a week over 3 weeks is not bad for a DB. That's not the problem. The problem is that I drafted him with my first or second pick. That's the problem. Not his points comparatively to where he's at. 7 points a week is not bad. It's that he was a second round pick, but he's got to play better if my team's going to play better. But yeah, I think I'm going to win this week. I really do. I think that Hedman has a lot of injuries, has a lot of matchups that may not be playing into his favor, and I think as long as Josh Allen, Khalil Shakir, and Dalton Kincaid, if I can get past that, New Orleans defense, please, Lord, play good, or James Cook just take it over, then yeah, I'll win. I'm going to pick myself.
I didn't realize he had the Buffalo tripod. Yeah, right. I picked last man standing.
It's not technically a tripod because he doesn't have...
It's 3 players on the offense.
Yeah, but it doesn't
need to have a running back.
I think
not in this day and age.
Tripod. All right, last
I'll let you tell
me
why Maestro is going to beat me here.
Well, I wouldn't say that because Maestro's team, like I've said all year, is just not a very good team. I didn't mind Blake Corum bringing him in, to my team, but and I thought about putting in a waiver, but running back 2 is like. I think he can be a running back 2, but am I sure that he can be a running back 2? I don't.
He's better than both of your running backs you're starting. What do you mean?
Oh boy. Javonte Williams kind of came back down to earth last week, and against Green Bay at home, we'll see if he can sustain that. You don't mind Goff, and Stafford's really playing a lot better than we thought he was going to play.
He's still alive, so yeah, that's a lot better than I thought he'd be playing.
Right. Zach Bond looks like he's practicing, so that's a big lift for his defense. I don't know if Michael's just trying to troll or what. You gave him like a thumbs up, like good pick, but Cameron Hayward, another DT, like there's defensive ends out there that will get you sacks. I just don't understand why he's so attracted to these big guys.
Well, because I think you're looking at the defensive line all wrong. Well, yes, defensive ends can get you sacks, and that's great. I think consistency can be a little bit better. I like having at least one consistent guy because I've been watching the Steelers games. Obviously, Cam Hayward is back. He's playing really well. Whereas defensive ends, for instance, you're starting Jalen Walker and Nick Bonito, who are averaging. I mean, Jalen Walker's 2 points a week. Nick Bonito's been playing a lot better. I'll give him that with the sacks. But like sometimes, TJ Watt he'll get 3 guys blocking him on every play. So it's like that's not going to be very helpful fantasy wise. So defensive tackles, I think, are getting a bad rap. Is all I'm saying.
Wow. I just think that Michael is the team he built. I just don't know if it can sustain like Cooper Kupp. I don't have him going crazy tonight. You look for these like big stars, these big bursts of points. He just doesn't have it beyond maybe Goff and Jefferson. Stafford, yeah, but you just got to see some surprises here. Love Bond, Okereke, Werner, and on the other side, your side. I mean, Lamar Jackson against Kansas City is probably going to be a high-scoring game. Kansas City is going to try to limit Lamar and what he's done. Do you know Lamar is sacked the second most in the NFL right now? That's pretty crazy. It's not a stat I expected. Xavier Worthy, I think he's going to be a decoy. It'd be surprising for me to think that Xavier Worthy is going to go out there and score multiple touchdowns. I mean, maybe he gets rushing touchdown or something like that, but I don't know if I like Xavier Worthy this week. Abuka, wide receiver 1, fantastic. Cortland Sutton on Monday night as a hammer, fantastic. Saquon Barkley, you got Scattaboo in his first week. You got kind of a popsicle stick D, but I don't 100% mind it comparatively to the other side. Like I said, Bond, Okereke, Werner, fantastic. The rest, I just don't know if they can beat anybody in the league. So I'm going to pick you just based on, like I said.
I knew you were going to do that.
No,
you don't really think I'm going to win. You're just doing that because I said you're my good luck charm for picking against me last week. So you're like, I'm going to get him to lose this week. I know. Yeah. I see what you're doing. I see your strategy.
Yeah, I'm just going to pick Michael, even though I ranked him last in the preseason rankings. He's 1 and 2. I've picked against him almost every week. Yes, I'm just picking him. He's 146 points projected with a full lineup. Like, give me a fucking break. Go ahead. Tell me why you're going to win.
I kind of want to pick Michael now. I feel like I should pick against myself for my own fantasy football, fate here. But I can't. I do expect myself to win here. And it's really, I like my source team a lot better than you do. I think Jared Goff and Stafford are one of the best quarterback duos in the league, but versus Cleveland, versus Indianapolis, not great matchups this week. Both bad matchups for them. Justin Jefferson could go off versus Pittsburgh in Ireland. Defense has not played well. He could definitely go off for multiple touchdowns. Quentin Johnson could go off versus the Giants. Cooper Kupp could steal points from Sam Darnold for me tonight. But I just expect Lamar Jackson to play well versus Kansas City. I expect Darnold to play well tonight at Arizona. Sutton versus Cincinnati on Monday night should be fucking gold. Amico Bucca versus Philly. I loved Adunze, and I didn't necessarily want to trade away one of my good wide receivers, but it's the reason I kept Amico Bucca, and part of it was, yes, he could be sharing targets a lot of people, but Mike Evans already went out and Chris Godwin's coming back, so he doesn't necessarily have to take all the load on himself, but he has been so consistent and his catches are absolutely amazing. Mm-hmm. Xavier Worthy, I agree. I do think he will probably be a distraction, a decoy this week. I might replace him with Luther Burden the third, just hope for Luther to get a bomb here or two versus Las Vegas like he did last week. But then Saquon at Tampa Bay and Scatterbo versus the Chargers. Yes, tough matchup versus Chargers, but I still expect Scatterbo to show up. And I'm waiting for a Barkley blow up game because he really hasn't had one yet. He's been consistent. But now that they started throwing last week, hopefully they'll give more attention to AJ Brown and stuff and open up some windows for Barkley. Whereas he's got great talent over there in Javonte Williams, Blake Corum. I like both of them. But again, versus Green Bay and versus Indianapolis, now that means he's got Cleveland, Green Bay, and Indianapolis on two guys. Bad matchups there for a lot of key positions there for him. I'm hoping Kraft plays. He's questionable again. I think he will, because if he does, at Dallas is just a great matchup for him. Whereas Dallas Goedert on the other side for him should do well, but I still expect Kraft to play better, and I expect Boswell to beat Fairbairn. I expect Maestro to do a good job here, but it's just, like I said, a lot of the matchups are bad. If he is going to win, it's going to be from Justin Jefferson and Quentin Johnson going nuts, which I don't think there's a high chance of that. So
Xavier Worthy, I have him in a lot of other leagues, and I'm benching him where I can, unless I absolutely have to play him. I don't think I wouldn't play Luther Burden over him, but and another note on this, Michael has fucking 5 running backs, and 4 of them aren't running back 2s. They're all like borderline 3s.
Well, half of them are 4s. Playing better than your running backs.
You've said that. I get it. Genty and Benson. I guess just watch Benson tonight. Just see how Benson plays.
I'll keep an eye out.
Because if it was James Conner, you'd be like, oh yeah, James Conner. Well, this guy.
Oh, that's right. Conner's out for the season. That's right. So Benson's stock should go up. Okay, I forgot about that. To be fair, I forgot.
Yes. All right, guys. Well, that's just about it. I got to get ready to take my son to a baseball game. Next week we'll be back to talk about week 5. Get ready for the Darth Scott Sex Raptor matchup in week 5. But until then, we'll be back same time, same place. See ya.